Good morning, Justin, and welcome to October 13th. It is a Sunday. My public speaking class continues to be a challenge. However, I'm doing well in it so far, so I'm really happy with that. My math class, I really regret having mixed up my emails for class, or not for class, but for college, having missed the email to tell me when the placement test was and that I actually needed to take it. And that I need to take it because the math class that I'm in, I really should be in the next level up. I mean, I'm really happy that it's providing me the understanding that I'm getting right now, the really in-depth, nitty gritty. But at the same time, the concepts that we're covering in class, I understand. What I'm doing though is I'm looking at what is being presented. I'm asking why. Why is it this way? What can I do to help improve my knowledge and make this class something that I can make it so that I can get something from this class. And so today I went over to my professor's office hours, which ended up being really useful because he was covering tangent, and tangent for me has always been this sort of, I would say, ethereal almost concept that has never entirely made a bunch of sense. Like, I understand that it's opposite over adjacent, and it's a fraction, and why it's positive or negative in the given quadrants, but he presented it in a different way in class, where he placed a line tangent to a circle going parallel to the y-axis, and he's like, okay, so you can determine tangent by looking at the theta that you have and looking at the line that goes along the radius for the hypotenuse of what your reference angle would be. And he really did, in class, he quickly covered how you can use that to determine what the sign of each quadrant would be for theta. And I was like, I get it, but not really. And then during his office hours, I asked him about it, and I asked him how it related to one kind of graph where you relate theta to y, and that would be the same kind of graph if you were graphing a sine wave. And then there was one where I was just trying to understand what theta would look like if you graphed it. I wanted to see how it would increase by theta for the value that it was giving, not just the y-axis. And so I was like, wait, I can do that. I can do that using a polar graph. And then I graphed it, and I was like, oh my goodness, these are so amazing, because it just realistically showed exactly how it would form, and then why it was undefined at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. And I was just like, math is amazing. I felt a little silly doing it because I'm like, these concepts are very simple. Like, I get that. I get that this is basically the addition of pre-calculus, or the equivalent of addition in pre-calculus. And I felt a little foolish for not being like, oh, why didn't I see this right away? It's obvious. But it was just really neat once I had figured it out. I'm a little bit nervous for the math placement test, but I've heard that they have practice tests posted online, and so one of my goals this weekend is to download that and go over it and make sure I understand everything before I walk into that class, or walk into that test. I've been meaning to do that for a while, but stuff has gotten in the way, and right now I'm just like, I have to get this done, so I'm going to. I really think that these videos, although I break up and I say and I go, oh, what am I supposed to be saying in them, I feel like they've really helped my ability to formulate my thoughts and speak clearly, not necessarily concisely. Looking at some of my old videos, no, definitely not concisely. But I feel like I'm getting better, at the very least, especially about going and reviewing Hank Green's videos. Thank you, Hank! If you ever see this, thank you very much for your video tips. But they've really been helping me in public speaking. Just the ability to know that there's an audience there, and that I can just continue with my message despite that. Because it's a little bit intimidating just talking to a camera. You don't know who's going to be seeing it. Though you're talking to a general audience, you don't really know how it's going to be perceived. And the idea of being able to formulate an image of your audience in your mind and go with that, I really feel has helped me when I go to stand up in front of a real audience. I mean, it's very different talking to a little black dot on my computer and talking to a room full of people. But somehow I believe the ideas relate, and I think that's one reason why I'm doing fairly well so far in my public speaking class. And I can kind of relax when I get up in front of a crowd, and I mean, I get nervous, no question about it, but I can relax a little bit knowing that I can still formulate my thoughts while I'm speaking. And there's some amount of comfort in that. So that's public speaking. You've heard about math. My bio class. Oh, my teacher is so cool. Like he's hilarious, and he really teaches. Like it's best if you come to class, like no doubt about it. I'm sure this is true for any class. Prepared, like you understand the material, you've read it, you've asked questions about it, you've gone back into detail and tried to answer those questions through the text. And so when you walk into class, you can really discuss it. But he covers it also enough that if you haven't, you're still going to learn something. But I think that's more to do with the nature of biology than it is for anything else. I don't know. He's just a cool teacher. Um, and it's really great because we get to interact in the lecture because we have something called an iClicker. It's kind of silly, but it's basically just like a little bar that has A through E options on it, and he'll pull up a poll in the middle of the class, or a question that may count for points. It's tied to your student account on his computer, and he'll give us 30 minutes to a minute to answer a question. Sometimes he'll let us see it before, but the time to answer is limited. And it's really great because then he can pull it up in a bar graph and be like, okay, this is what the distribution looks over the class. And sometimes it's a fairly easy question. You know, many people will get it wrong, and he'll be like, oh, okay, all right, what are we not understanding here? But that doesn't happen very often because he really does know what he's talking about. I mean, I would hope so. He's a PhD, but I'm really glad to know that he does, and also it's great getting the feedback. I mean, even though I know what I answered, it's very interesting to see how other people answered. And he took, so if the majority of the class votes a certain way on the question, around 11 people will answer incorrectly, and very, very rarely will no one answer a certain answer. And there's, I think, a little over 100 people in the class. It's my biggest class. Most of my classes are 30 people or less. It's amazing. My classes are smaller than my high school classes. I don't know if I've mentioned this to you before. It's so cool. And actually, another note on that. My math teacher is taking the time to learn everyone's name in the class. In a college class, in a state school, nevertheless, it's really cool. It's so amazing. And it's great to be able to get feedback. I feel like if I went to a UC or any of the more prestigious schools, I wouldn't be getting the education I'm getting right now. And I was discussing this with a couple friends. It's like, yes, you go to these bigger universities, they're supposed to be better, and their teachers do research, and they speak with thick accents, and you have big classes, and it's like, no, I'm getting so much better education than that. I mean, given you probably do in your higher level classes get a better education. Yeah, and maybe you have more options for your major, but I'm so happy with this school. I'm so happy with Pomona. Um, it's really cool. Um, all right, so we've covered biology, we've covered math, we've covered public speaking, Aikido. It's really cool. I'm really, really enjoying myself. It's great to be able to get out and just get some exercise and learn some stuff. It's amazing how quickly what little I did learn as a kid in various martial arts is coming back to me and how useful it is. It functions a little bit as an intuition, and although, as you know, I don't have a lot of intuition for being able to move quickly and think on my feet, um, seeing as we've sparred a bit before, but it's definitely helping. It's definitely really cool. One of my teachers, uh, he he looks like a character from one of the video games I've played. Not because he looks like all cool, like martial artsy. He's like a brick. It's hilarious, and it's also nice how nice other people are in the class and how willing they are to participate. Um, It's really cool. I'm also doing martial arts club, which kicked my ass the other week and was probably one of the reasons I was really sick and kind of not making you videos and stuff. I'm really sorry about that. I've just been trying to catch up. I'm sorry for not making you one on Tuesday and Thursday. I'm sorry this one's extra long. I hope it makes up for it. One other thing. So cool. So we got Lightning and Thunder too. I mean, it's been like over 190s a lot of the time here, and it finally rained. Like, it rained, and it was so cool. One of the things about this storm is whenever anything happens, like, you can generally tell by the number of people screaming. Like, either girls or rooms are just like, ah, and like start screaming. It's hilarious. um, and so like I heard all these girls screaming, and I'm like, oh, something must have happened. I opened my window. It doesn't look like it's raining. Open my window again. Open up the slider because I'm on the second story, so it's kind of hard to see what's going on. And so I open up the slider, I can like hear the rain, and I like focus my eyes. I'm like, oh, I can see that. That's cool. And it was really neat. I walked out and I was like, whoosh. I'm like, hey, it's actually legitimately raining out here. Why couldn't I see that earlier? But yeah, it was cool. One of the other things here, as I mentioned with all the girls screaming, is like living with people above, on sides, below you is just, it's a different way of living. Like, it's, some things are the same. Like, you still have a bit of your own privacy. Luckily, my roommate is amazing. She's great. She's so nice. And we have roughly the same schedules for everything. And, like, we have things worked out. No conflicts so far. Yeah. But, like, when you're trying to sleep on, say, a Friday, like today, right now I probably would not be able to sleep because there's just stuff going on all the time. You can hear people walking. You can hear people running. People will just randomly start screaming. It's just the way it is. People will like randomly pick up their guitar and decide to just play a guitar solo, like at 10 o'clock or at midnight. It's crazy. People were just playing drums downstairs. You just never know what's gonna happen. Also, just like when we were little kids, there's a freeway. It's like just over there, and I thought initially I couldn't hear it, but you can on occasion, and I thought it might bother me, but no, it's just like in San Leandro. It's you don't even notice it, but it's kind of weird because like right now I can hear fire trucks and sirens in the background, and there are almost always helicopters going overhead. So I mean it's a little different, but still cool. Someone pointed out to me today, you can't see the stars here. Like, I've really gotten used to that. I don't think we could see them in San Leandro all that well. I know we could on occasion, but we definitely could in Novato. And like I looked up to the sky, I'm like, I can't see the stars, but it's okay. Wait, going back to my previous point, yes, I'm kind of all over the place today. For Aikido, I was out on a bio assignment and I acquired a jo, which is a stick to practice with because in Aikido they have a staff form. And no, I'm not going to take it to class. It's all good. It's just for here practicing. If I were to actually hit anything with it, it would probably break. It's made of bamboo, though. Super smooth. It's nice. Let's see. So, basic dorm life, my classes, my teachers. I have a bio lecture and lab class, by the way. Lab's pretty cool too. Midterms next week. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. Study groups are good. Been a lot of fun. I'm glad to hear about the kitten. That sounds like it was fantastic. I'll try to get you videos whenever I can in the next week. It may be on my days, it may not be, but I'll try to make you them, and they'll try to make them for the right amount of time, lengthwise. So we'll see about that. I love you. Have a great time. I don't know when you'll hear from me next. Thank you so much for your video, and goodbye.